Welcome to Power in Words, a quiet space carved out of the noise of the world, designed specifically to be a source of inspiration, enduring strength, and the kind of positive energy that sustains rather than simply distracts. Here we believe that words are more than just syllables strung together. They are vessels of shared humanity, offering light when the corridor seems dark and extending a hand when you feel as though you are walking alone. You have found your way here today, perhaps by chance, or perhaps because there is a quiet seeking within you, a desire to make sense of the heavy things you are carrying. In this space, there is no judgment and no expectation for you to be anything other than exactly who you are in this very moment. We are building a community rooted in understanding, a fellowship of individuals who recognize that the human experience is profoundly beautiful, but undeniably complex. Settle in, take a slow, deliberate breath, and allow yourself to simply be present as we explore the hidden landscapes of our inner lives together. There is a profound and ancient observation that has echoed through centuries, originating from the mind of a Roman emperor who faced the crushing weight of leadership, war, and plague. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and that what stands in the way becomes the way. When you first hear these words, especially in the midst of your own struggle, they might sound like a riddle or a platitude delivered by someone who does not understand the specific, agonizing texture of your pain. When you are standing before a towering wall in your life, the last thing you want to be told is that this wall is somehow good for you. You might be facing a sudden job loss, the unraveling of a cherished relationship, a creative block that makes you question your entire identity, or an illness that alters your daily reality. The wall feels like an ending. It feels like a cruel denial of the future you had so carefully mapped out in your mind. The natural, deeply human response to this sudden blockade is a profound sense of grief, accompanied by a sharp, rising panic that whispers you have failed, that you have fallen behind, that everyone else is moving forward while you are stranded. As a psychologist, I have sat in quiet rooms with countless individuals who are staring down their own walls. I have witnessed the raw, unfiltered tears of people who believed they did everything right, who followed all the rules, who worked relentlessly, only to find themselves completely derailed. We are conditioned by a society that glorifies the linear ascent. We are fed stories of unbroken success, of prodigies who never stumble, of relationships that are eternally harmonious, and of careers that resemble a clean upward trajectory. This cultural narrative is deeply insidious because it frames any deviation, any pause, any period of confusion as a moral failing or a fatal flaw in your character. When you encounter a massive obstacle, your mind, desperate for an explanation, often turns inward, searching for what is broken within you. The fear of failure morphs into a pervasive sense of imposter syndrome. You begin to look at the curated lives of others on screens, comparing their public triumphs to your silent struggles, and an immense loneliness takes root. You feel isolated in your stalling, convinced that you are the only one who cannot figure out how to bypass the rubble in your path. Before we can talk about growth, we must acknowledge the physical and emotional toll that an obstacle exacts upon the body and the mind. When you hit a wall, it is not merely a cognitive experience. Your nervous system reacts as if you are under imminent threat. Consider the anxiety that tightens your chest, the sleepless nights spent rehearsing catastrophic scenarios, the heavy lethargy that makes getting out of bed feel like a monumental task. These are not signs of weakness. They are natural biological responses to the disruption of your safety and predictability. Many people compound their suffering by judging their own physiological reactions. They believe that if they were truly strong, they would not feel anxious, they would not cry, they would not feel paralyzed. But true psychological resilience does not mean the absence of fear or the suppression of emotion. It means allowing your body to feel the shock of the impact, validating your own distress, and giving yourself the grace to process the grief of the disrupted plan before demanding that you figure out the solution. You cannot think your way out of a feeling. You must feel your way through it. This requires creating a safe internal environment where all of your emotions, even the messy and uncomfortable ones, are allowed to exist without condemnation. We must look closer at the anatomy of the obstacle itself. The things that stand in our way are rarely just external circumstances. They are profound mirrors reflecting our deepest vulnerabilities and unexamined beliefs back to us. When you are forced to stop because the path forward has crumbled, you are also forced to sit with yourself in a way that momentum previously allowed you to avoid. The silence that follows a sudden halt is deafening. In that silence, all the insecurities you outran when things were going well catch up to you. The obstacle strips away the comforting illusions of control and certainty. This stripping away is incredibly painful and feels like losing your psychological skin. Yet it is precisely in this vulnerable, exposed state that true emotional transformation becomes possible. The wall blocking your path is not merely a barrier preventing you from reaching your old goal. It is a crucial interruption forcing you to question whether the goal you were pursuing was actually meant for you in the first place. Let us consider the nature of the path itself. We often imagine our lives as a smooth road leading to a beautiful destination. We pack our bags, we set our sights, and we begin to walk. When a massive boulder falls and blocks the road, we spend all our energy trying to push the boulder, screaming at it, bargaining with it, or sitting down in defeat before it. We perceive the boulder as an alien object that does not belong in our story. But the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius invites us into a radical shift in perception. It suggests that the boulder is not an interruption of the story. The boulder is the plot itself. The energy you expend trying to find a way around the boulder, the muscles you develop trying to climb over it, the patience you cultivate while sitting beside it, waiting for a storm to pass. These are the very tools you will need for the landscape that lies ahead. The obstacle is not a detour. It is the curriculum. It is the exact, specific resistance your soul requires to develop the strength, the nuance, and the depth of character necessary for the next chapter of your existence. Think about the moments in your life that have fundamentally shaped who you are. If you trace the lines of your own history, you will likely find that your periods of greatest growth did not occur during times of ease, comfort, and unbroken sunshine. They occurred in the crucible of difficulty. They happened when you were heartbroken and had to learn how to parent your own inner child. They happened when you failed publicly and realized that the sky did not fall, teaching you a deep, unshakable resilience that success could never have imparted. They happened when you were entirely lost and had to develop an internal compass because all the external maps had burned. The writer James Baldwin once noted that the things that tormented him most were the very things that connected him with all the people who were alive or who had ever been alive. Your suffering, your frustration, and your encounter with the immovable objects in your life do not alienate you from the human family. They initiate you into it. The struggle is the universal language of human becoming. When we begin to accept that what stands in the way becomes the way, we initiate a profound healing. We stop fighting reality. So much of our exhaustion comes not from the problem itself, but from our relentless, exhausting resistance to the fact that the problem exists. We waste immense emotional reserves arguing with the present moment, wishing it were different, wishing the past could be altered, wishing the unfairness of the situation could be magically corrected. This resistance keeps us stuck in a state of victimhood, rendering us powerless. Acceptance, however, is not passive resignation. It does not mean you like the obstacle, nor does it mean you excuse the injustice that may have placed it there. Acceptance is simply the grounded, courageous act of looking at the wall and saying that this is here. This is my reality today. From this place of stark, honest acknowledgement, genuine power emerges. You stop pouring your energy into wishing the wall away, and you begin to pour your energy into exploring the texture of the stones, finding the footholds, and determining how to ascend. This shift requires immense self-compassion. The journey over the obstacle is rarely graceful. It is clumsy, halting, and marked by setbacks. There will be days when the psychological weight of the barrier feels too heavy to bear, days when you slide back down the rock face and scrape your knees. In these moments, the harshest voice in the room is often your own, criticizing your lack of progress, demanding that you heal faster, achieve more, and overcome instantly. You must learn to silence this inner tyrant. Growth is not a continuous upward line. The psychologist Carl Jung believed that we do not solve our life problems, but rather we outgrow them. We expand our capacity so that the problem no longer threatens our core being. This expansion takes time. It requires you to treat yourself with the same gentleness and patience you would offer a dear friend who is navigating a dark wood. When you stumble, you must learn to speak to yourself with warmth, recognizing that the stumble is an integral part of the climb, not a disqualification from the journey. Consider the phenomenon of a seed buried in the earth. To the seed, the heavy, dark soil pressing down upon it must feel like a profound impediment. It is trapped, devoid of light, buried under the weight of the world. Yet it is the very resistance of the soil that provides the necessary friction for the seed to shed its outer shell. It is the darkness that signals the roots to reach downward, anchoring the plant deeply into the earth so that when it finally breaks the surface and encounters the harsh winds of the world, it is not blown away. The dirt is not the enemy of the seed. The dirt is the crucible of its transformation. Similarly, the darkness you are experiencing right now, the feeling of being buried under expectations, failures, and overwhelming circumstances, is not a burial. It is a planting. You are being asked to develop roots in places you previously ignored. You are being forced to find your anchoring in your own inherent worth, rather than in the shifting sands of external validation, career success, or the approval of others. As you stand before your obstacle, you are actively participating in the creation of your own identity. The person you were before the wall appeared is not equipped to navigate the territory beyond it. That past version of yourself must undergo a metamorphosis. The struggle itself is the alchemy that changes you. When you are forced to dig deep, to tap into reserves of courage you did not know you possessed, to ask for help when you are used to being fiercely independent, or to surrender control when you are terrified of the unknown, you are slowly being rebuilt. You are shedding the brittle, fragile layers of an untested ego and developing the quiet, enduring strength of a grounded soul. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche captured this terrifying but beautiful process when he suggested that an individual who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Your encounter with the obstacle is the very process by which you discover your deepest why. It strips away the superficial desires and leaves you with the raw, undeniable core of what truly matters to you. This internal restructuring also radically alters the way we relate to the people around us. When we are facing a massive impediment, our instinct is often to withdraw into isolation. We hide our struggles because we feel ashamed of our lack of progress, believing that our vulnerability makes us burdensome to those we love. But the obstacle, if we allow it, can become a bridge rather than a fortress. When you find the courage to share your silent struggles with another human being, to admit that you do not know the way forward and that you are afraid, you give them permission to be human as well. You discover that the people you admire most are also navigating their own invisible labyrinths. The illusion of perfection shatters, and in its place, genuine intimacy is born. The relationships that survive the fire of your hardest seasons are the ones that will sustain you for the rest of your life. They are forged not in the easy moments of celebration, but in the trenches of shared uncertainty. It is completely natural to feel exhausted by this process. There is a specific kind of fatigue that comes from constantly having to pivot, from continuously having to find a new route when the old one is blocked. Honor that exhaustion. Rest when you need to. The work of converting an impediment into a pathway is the hardest work a human being can undertake. Do not demand constant forward motion from yourself. Sometimes simply surviving a difficult season is a profound victory. Sometimes standing in front of the wall and choosing not to walk away is the most courageous action you can take. Healing and growth happen in the quiet moments of integration, during the periods of stillness when you allow the lessons of the struggle to seep into your bones. The culture will demand that you hustle your way out of pain, that you optimize your suffering into a productivity hack. Reject this hollow narrative. Your pain is not a project to be managed. It is a landscape to be navigated with reverence and deep psychological care. As you gradually learn to interact with your obstacle differently, you will notice a subtle but undeniable shift in your internal atmosphere. The paralyzing fear begins to transform into a cautious curiosity. The despair gives way to a quiet, stubborn resilience. You begin to realize that the wall has not destroyed you. In fact, it has introduced you to a version of yourself you would never have met otherwise, a version that is wiser, more empathetic, more grounded, and infinitely more capable. You realize that you are no longer afraid of things not going according to plan, because you have developed an unwavering trust in your own ability to handle the unplanned. The obstacle, once a source of terror, becomes a testament to your endurance. You look back at the broken road, at the detour that seemed so catastrophic at the time, and you recognize that it was the only route that could have led you to the profound self-understanding you now possess. This realization brings a deep, lasting peace. It is not the fragile peace of someone who has never been tested, but the robust, weathered peace of someone who has walked through the fire and discovered they are made of fireproof material. You begin to approach life with a renewed sense of openness, knowing that whatever impediments arise in the future will not be roadblocks, but invitations to further growth. The anxiety of anticipation fades, replaced by a quiet confidence. You understand that the universe is not conspiring against you by placing hurdles in your path. Rather, it is offering you the exact resistance required to sculpt your spirit. The way is not supposed to be easy. The way is supposed to make you whole. The challenges you face are not signs that you have lost the path. They are the undeniable proof that you are finally on it. In the end, the measure of our lives is not found in the absence of struggle, but in the meaning we extract from it. We are not defined by the boulders that fall in our way, but by the grace, the grit, and the courage we display as we learn to navigate them. Every shattered dream, every closed door, every moment of profound uncertainty holds within it the seed of a new beginning, provided we are willing to tend to the soil of our own hearts with patience and compassion. The journey is long and the terrain is unpredictable, but you are equipped with an extraordinary inherent capacity for renewal. You have survived every difficult day you have ever faced, and you will navigate this one too, not by bypassing the difficulty, but by allowing it to transform you into the person you are destined to become. You must remember that your potential is not locked behind the obstacle, but rather it is forged by the very act of climbing over it. The heavy stones of disappointment and delay are building the foundation of a resilience that no one will ever be able to take away from you. When you finally reach the summit of whatever is currently standing in your way, you will look back and see that the mountain did not defeat you, but rather it gave you a vantage point you never could have achieved from the safety of the flatlands. Let the wall teach you how to climb. If these words brought you a sense of comfort or clarity today, I warmly invite you to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to Power in Words so we can continue walking this beautiful journey of growth together.